The previous basket is under review.
Welcome back to Stats by Will and Jim, a college basketball podcast here on the Basket Under Review Network. Happy to have you back for another weekly episode with myself, Jim Root, the host, and of course, the brains of the operation, Will Warren, the longer runner of the two here.
That's the only
we were just talking about
thing you've said. The brains of the operation is shared, my friend.
Okay, I'll accept that. Shared is fine. We were just talking before we got on mic here about Will has already had an adventurous morning getting out into the world. I have not, so we're gonna hat tip Will and his efforts already today with his running. Will, our topic today is the top 10 breakout players for 2025-26. We tried to come up with a definition that either fit our agendas. Typically, that's what we want most. Generally, I went for players that average less than 20 minutes per game and 10 points per game. There's a couple guys that barely snuck under both of those thresholds that we'll discuss. What did you go with? What really, I guess, did you have a formula and what was it?
Yeah, so you know the name Luke Wynn, right? Who's now the Raptors, was at Sports Illustrated for all those years.
Oh, yeah.
Genius.
That guy got me in love with analytical thinking around basketball.
So he used to have this formula for breakout candidates where it was freshmen or sophomores with 16 minutes or less per game, but and obviously we'd adjust this now for increased scoring, but it was over 100 offensive rating, over 20% usage. And that was what he'd look for from those limited minutes guys who, if they met those targets, generally they could expand into larger starting roles the next year or two. And so we've seen, when I first did this, I think 3 years ago at the old newsletter, the number one guy on this was Donovan Clingan. I don't think our number one guy this year will be nearly as easy to pick. There's no extremely obvious jump off the page star in the waiting that's going to be. What was Clingan, the 6th or 7th overall pick? He was very high.
Yep.
So I don't know that we'll have that this year because college basketball on a whole is getting older and guys stay longer thanks to NIL. But I think we've got some really good candidates this year for guys who are going to go from maybe bench roles or became a starter in the final weeks of the season roles to these guys are suddenly scoring 16, 17, 18 a game.
Yeah, I'm looking back at Zach Edey was 15 minutes a game, 9 points a game as a freshman, 14 and a half as a sophomore. It's just kind of another guy that you could see with the usage and increased role. It was probably going to work out pretty well for him as a breakout. And those are the guys we're looking for. That's what we're trying to find here, trying to identify. As mentioned, this is Stats by Will and Jim, and we're on Basket Under Review. And I think I go through this every week, Will, where I'm like, everybody that's listening to this is already a member, right? I don't need to pitch Basket Under Review to them. So if you're not,
but on YouTube, if you find this on YouTube, out in the wild, because this is you can just it's like a Field of 68 thing. If you're just searching something, you might find our show. So let's pitch it. Basket Under Review, greatest site on the internet. They're calling it the new Bible. They're saying it's the new Odyssey. They've called Kevin Sweeney our Homer, I would say, not Simpson.
Oh yeah. Every hotel is going to have an iPad with Basket Under Review in the first drawer next to the bed, just right next to the St. James Bible.
Yeah.
that's the plan.
Only at Best Western. We haven't made it up to Hilton status yet.
Okay, we're working on that. We truly needs to get the brand deals going. But yeah, we've got the Discord where people can talk ball all the time. We've got the website where there's incredible writing from Will, who just debuted in the 3-Man Weave Top 50. We love to see that with San Diego State. And we've got Jordan Majeski writing about new systems with new coaches. Got Brian Ralph every single week with something. We've got great guest writers. Highly encourage checking that out, reading all of the content because it's fantastic and it's only going to get better as we get closer to the season and into the season. So we're very excited about that. I've told you the topic. I do also want to shout out Home Field before we even get to our stat of the day. Home Field is the best place to get your college sports apparel. We've got college football up and running, fired up right now. I am a Mizzou grad. I am all aboard the Bo Perbula train after week 1. So I'm hunting what I want to buy from Home Field right now. We've got basketball coming up as well. They've got retro logos for your team, for really any team you can think of, and teams you cannot think of. It's a wonderful, wonderful company. Home Field Apparel. Use promo code BURNER15 for 15% off your first order. Maybe you want to buy early Christmas gifts for people. That's a great idea. Burner15. Check it out for 15% off. Homefieldapparel.com. Okay, Will, the stat of the day, trivia stat. This one I'm thinking is probably going to be pretty gettable, which is good.
That's never a good sign for me. Go on.
No, hopefully I can set up the premise right, and it will logically make sense. So per Bart Torvik, from Valentine's Day on, that's what we're thinking. Valentine's Day through the end of the season, there are 3 teams in the top 10 that were not 1 through 4 seeds in the NCAA tournament. So you had 3 teams that kind of surged up the S curve. Can you name them? And I will give you a rather helpful hint, I think. They're all Mountain Time Zone or further west.
Okay, so one is BYU, obviously, right?
Bingo. Yep.
I'm going to guess another Gonzaga, because Gonzaga was very high the whole year.
Yep. Gonzaga is 1, BYU is 2 in order. And then there's one more team that only lost once, and it was in the NCAA tournament in this time span.
Okay, once in the NCAA tournament.
So
I gotta think of who was like really effing hot. UCSD?
Not UCSD.
Man.
But you're west. You're thinking kind of the right idea. Team got an auto bid. Probably wouldn't have made it without winning their conference tournament.
Colorado State?
Bingo. There it is.
They were top 10?
From February 15th on. They were 11-0 before that Maryland buzzer beater loss.
And how many players got drafted over Nick Clifford?
Too many.
What the hell? Wow. Okay.
He's too old, apparently. No. The Colorado State was cooking late in the year. I didn't fully realize that either. As a man who bet on Memphis in the first round, I don't love that. That did not work out great for me. But yes, 3 teams that were scorching towards the end of the year. Unfortunately, that doesn't set up a Puff Johnson challenge like we did last week. But we do want to give the people a little stat nugget towards the end of the year there.
That sets up like the journalist challenge, though, in a way. Because like the joke is always like East Coast bias. Everybody goes to sleep at 11 or whatever, and you miss the West Coast games. So you can be like ahead of the curve. It's not like a challenge, I guess, but you're ahead of the curve in like, February 28th this year. Like, hey, New Mexico's playing really well, or UNLV is really hot. Like, nobody's talking about this, but they're 17th over the last 15 days. You can sound really smart to your friends.
The challenge is watch the sport. Yeah, that's we put
really
that gauntlet down for you. Yeah, we lay that down. Okay, let's talk breakout candidates here without any further ado. I know you've got a work day ahead of you, Will. I'm just gonna go back to sleep, I guess. I don't know. We're talking breakout candidates. We've each got our list of 10 per usual. Mine might be 12 or 13 because I had a hard time cutting it off, but all kinds of honorable mentions that we'll get to as well. But we mentioned our criteria, kind of wanting guys that definitely did not play 20 minutes per game, were not double-digit scorers, and we think could really have big-time seasons. I'll start with you, Will, because my 1 and 2 are really just shoehorning into my series of criteria. So let's see what you got at the top of your list for breakout players.
Well, I'll give you number 1 here that is going to be near and dear to your heart. It's Anthony Robinson from Mizzou.
All right.
So it's tough. Like, 9 points per game. He played 23 minutes. It's like very tangentially close. So we're fudging it a little bit here. But this is the type of guy we're looking for where it's like he didn't really play a huge role. Like, like I said, just over 20 minutes a game. Was kind of a role player off the bench his freshman year in a really bad Mizzou team. But as the season went on last year, it got better and better. Conference play, I just want to read off these stats. 116 offensive rating, 21% usage rate, 26% assist, which is quite good. And a 6.5 box plus minus. That's in +3 or more on both ends of the court. So 2-way star, should really expand his role, get more minutes this year. Torvik projects about 30 to 31 minutes a game for him, which I'm not sure how you feel about that because I know Gates loves to rotate, as you're well aware.
Yes.
But this is a guy who gets to the line at will. I really love what he can bring to the table. His per minute stats are crazy good. There is a chance that with the right amount of like on court time, right amount of Mizzou being good, which I think we can agree like they should be at least like, you know, at least tournament level to us.
Yep.
There is an outside chance, but a very believable one, that this is an all-American level player at year's end. He meets that sort of like shooting off to the stratosphere escape velocity criteria we generally look for. And, junior year, we see a lot of, freshman to sophomore bumps, and we'll get to those. But we don't talk about the sophomore to junior year bump as much. That is actually statistically from Hoop Explorer, the year with the highest jump in usage, highest jump in efficiency, highest jump in overall production. So sophomore to junior year, especially in this offense-friendly system, I could definitely see be a big Tony Robinson year.
I would love to see that. He's been a darling of, I think, some draft nicks, some advanced stat type hounds. He's 10th in Evan Mia's player rankings last year, just behind Braden Smith, Cam Jones, Zakai Ziegler, very well-known point guards. He has a propensity to commit very dumb fouls. This is the thing that watching him drove me nuts, and I think impacted his ability to play a lot. You don't see a lot of guards over 5 fouls per 40 minutes. That's typically reserved for hacking big men or guys that set a bunch of illegal screens.
Those guys typically play in the Southland.
Yes, they do. So we got to get his head screwed on a little straighter there. But yeah, I mean, he brings just enough shot making to be a threat. Then he can get downhill, like you said, lives at the free throw line, just gets free points that way repeatedly. And over a 5% steal rate, top 10 in the country, like just creates havoc on that end as well. All kinds of upside. If the minutes get up there a little more towards 30, like Bart projects, I could totally see this production kind of exploding. And they play fast, so you're going to get the counting stats. So yeah, I'm big fan of Anthony Robinson, and as a Mizzou grad, as mentioned already, I'm crossing my fingers that this is a spot on prediction. Would love to see an All-American campaign for him.
Well, and to the tune of the fouls thing, 5.3 per 40 is obviously not good. But I will note, per CBB Analytics, 6.9 fouls drawn per 40 is pretty damn special.
Yes. So he's creating a lot of free throws both ways, which is maybe not the most aesthetically pleasing player.
I would say that I think it's upsetting, because you can just picture the Pat Adams game where Tony Robinson is the reason the game goes 2 hours and 39 minutes, but is in regulation.
Yeah, well, and with the SEC coverage, whoever's on after Mizzou games this year, the amount of free throws they're going to shoot, I apologize. You're going to miss a lot of first halves because Mark Mitchell and Sebastian Mack will also spend a lot of time at the free throw line.
Get ready to learn ESPN news, buddy.
Yes, exactly. Okay, my number one is a senior, which typically not what you think of for these lists, but it's purely playing time based, and it goes right in line with the ultimate breakout candidate you mentioned, Mr. Klingon. It's Terrace Reed of UConn. He averaged 19.9 minutes per game, just a hair under 10 minutes a game. But they don't have the same level of platoon at center this year. I don't think Eric Ribe is going to be totally ready right away after watching him in FIBA. He's a little bit more skilled than he is physical. I think Reed is kind of in the same vein as Robinson, where if he fouls a little less and he gets up to 28, 30 minutes a game, you're looking at a 17 and 10 type of player. In this offense, he's top 2 offensive rebounder in the country by rate, top 30 in block rate defensively. Maybe that goes down a little bit if the perimeter defense tightens up and they're not bombing at him every time down the floor, but that should also help his foul rate. He's hyper efficient, physical, huge, in a great offense that puts guys in good spots. So without a real viable platoon mate, I think we do see the 25 to 30 minutes a game bump up for Reed, and the production's going to be there in that kind of minutes.
I can see it. I understand that. So let me give you. So these are his stats from last year adjusted to 30 minutes. So I mean, we'll see if he can get there, but if he can, he would have played like a 14 and 11 guy, and that's quite impactful in a UConn team that, one, needed better defense, and 2, just kind of needed more across the board. So you get a little more from him. He's awesome on the boards both ways, like a real serious threat. honestly a little more disruptive on the defensive end than he got credit for. 3.2 blocks per 40, 1.3 steals per 40. That's quite good for, frankly, a guy that did not really flash much of anything at Michigan. He was okay, and he was also playing in kind of a lame duck year for Juwan. But by the same token, like, we didn't really expect much when we kind of thought, oh, if he gets to UConn and he's like fine, that's good, because we were like, this is a reclamation project we're not really sold on. And he had to be more than fine last year given the Aiden Mahaney flop. But his per 40 numbers and his per minute numbers at UConn really do show off like a guy who could be super special this year. Like you said, potential All-American guy. Like, if I mean, they could build the team around him if they want to, like, pound it down low in the post, let him go to work, which I never would have expected 2 years ago. But he's a big bully down there. I really think, again, in a Big East with a power vacuum outside of the top two, free throw percentage increases just a little, fouls decrease just a little, conditioning increases just a little. I can totally see this being a breakout candidate.
Yeah, the usage has never been as high as Adama Sanogo through his career coming up into this, and last year it wasn't either. And UConn's got plenty of perimeter weapons, so they probably don't need him to be like a 25-30% usage guy, but man, he's going to dominate the glass. And the efficiency, his O rating jumped 30 points from Michigan to UConn. Like, that just tells you how certain guys can be optimized in different systems and playing around slightly better players and in a different role. Reed is definitely in that vein. And Will, I'm going to hog the ball and take my number 2 because it's very, very similar. A player that played under 20 minutes a game, just under 10 minutes a game, going to a system, or new coach across the country, not much of a backup for him. It's Henry Vesar at UNC, where I think he'll end up in the same. I mean, a lot of what I said about Reed is going to apply to him. 25 to 30 minute a game range after being a little bit more of a platoon at Arizona with Tobe Awaka. I don't think much at all of Zayden High as the backup at UNC, and whoever else Hubert wants to march out there. I'm optimistic that he will see the high production of Vesar and let him work. I do believe it was John Fendler in the Discord that pointed out 90 using the 98th percentile of frequency as a pick and roll big man rolling. And UNC ran a lot of pick and roll last year with Cadeau, but their guards aren't set up the same way this year. Like, there's not a true creator in ball screen, so maybe that hurts his production. But he's mobile, he's impactful defensively, he's good on the glass, he can step out a little bit and hit a 3 every once in a while. I just think in a bigger role for a team that, are they going to be totally reliant on Caleb Wilson in the front court? Does Vesar get a chance to break out? He's right there with Reed in terms of a similar type of big man into a bigger role for me.
Really good two-way player. I like him a lot. So CBB Analytics, who we mentioned a lot here, they have their own internal stat called RAPM, which is regularized adjusted plus minus. This is a fancy way of like using on off more or less. 100th percentile in the nation is one Vesar. Let me give you some stats. So this is on off last year for Vesar at Arizona. Offensive rating 122, defensive rating 101. When he's off the court, offensive 115, defensive 111. That's an on-off net of almost 18 points per 100. Crazy impactful for a team that really needed him to be. I kind of felt like as he got more responsibility, I wouldn't say it like fully saved the Arizona season, because a little bit of their slow start was variance based. They got kind of, rocked out of what should have been win against OU, should have been win against West Virginia, shot randomly very poorly against UCLA. And then, once 3-point stuff normalized, they were better. But, as he took on more responsibility and got more playing time down the stretch, it really felt like Arizona took off. Like, they kind of figured out how they wanted to be. And I was admittedly a little surprised when he transferred out, because I thought he was going to benefit from another year in that system. But he is going to get a lot more responsibility at UNC. He's going to be relied on a good bit more. I can definitely see where, let's say, again, 30-minute barrier, that's going to lead to him like getting some like really big moments this year. If he had gotten 30 minutes last year, he's a functionally 13-7 guy who can shoot. and they don't really grow those on trees, I would say.
No, not at all. Yeah, I guess he was technically 20.8 minutes per game. So for sticklers at home, you got me there. But it only started 5 out of 37 games, so I'm counting him among players that can still have another degree of breakout. I know he's not Armando Baycott, but hopefully Hubert actually rolls him out there for the 28 to 30 minutes. And it's the third straight guy we've got over 5 fouls per 40. So these guys got to figure this out if they want the bigger minutes load.
One interesting thing with Vaser I do want to point out, I am trying to think of, and maybe there is a guy I'm just not coming to the mind of. He has been really good at hitting the backdoor cutter in Arizona's high-low sets over the years. I would hate to see that taken away from him because that is a legitimate plus skill for a 7-footer to have. So I'm trying to figure out in my mind, like, who would that be at UNC who could be the other big that would fit with him?
Yeah, maybe it's Wilson. I don't know how he is as an off-ball cutter. I haven't watched him closely enough, but perhaps that could work. Perhaps it could work. Okay, so that's my 1-2. Will, let's go back to you for number 2 on your breakout list.
So very rarely is it that I look at an Alabama transfer and I say that guy is going to actually benefit from leaving Alabama. This could be the first ever case, honestly, because usually when a guy leaves Nate Oates, I'm like, not really something I'm looking to see. Mohamed Diabate going to Kentucky. I'm really, really interested in this and really excited for it. Earned an A grade in Matthew Winnick's transfer ratings, I gotta say. 100th percentile in offensive RAPM, 46% from 3, albeit unlimited shots. But you look again at this guy's per minute stats. We hyped up our man earlier, Terrace Reed. This is per 40, so adjust it down in your brain as need be. But 18 points per 40, 15 rebounds per 40. This is kind of the piece Kentucky really needed last year to hit that extra level, but never had. And you wonder, like, if they had this guy last year, they actually probably could have pushed for the SEC title, maybe. I'm really excited to see him get more playing time. I think Alabama almost had a little bit of the too many cooks thing going on in the front court, whereas like a lot of jack of all trades, masters of none. And I had kind of come away from their season wishing they had played Diabate a little more. So I think a situation where he could get, 25, 26, maybe 30 minutes a game at Kentucky, allow him to float on the perimeter a bit more. We know he can shoot. I'm not super concerned about the 61% hit rate at the free throw line. I think he'll be able to improve there a bit because we know he can shoot from 3 at least somewhat. I love his potential here.
He's an unbelievable defender. I think that's the fact that he's so good 2 ways is going to be massive for Kentucky, who hasn't had great. Mark Pope specifically hasn't had great defenses through the years. But if he gets Jaden Quaintance healthy, he gets Diabate out there. Aberdeen's a solid wing defender, always a solid wing defender. Like that defensive potential is really high. And yeah, it was a little odd last year that he wasn't playing more Diabate for Bama. I mean, why is Jaron Stevenson playing over him? I don't need that. I don't want that. Sherelle played a little bit, not a ton, but I love Diabate. I don't actually know why I didn't go with him on this list because big fan of him as a player. And I mentioned Anthony Robinson being 10th at Evan Mia. I should mention Vasar's 38th, Diabate 46th. Like these guys are so good in the margins and the analytical numbers. They just need bigger roles. And I think Diabate is definitely a guy that's heading to one in a system that's going to be up tempo and give him a chance to succeed, just like Alabama was.
So I ran over to Torvik really quick. You know how he has the comparison tool where you like get the lowest number I've ever really seen on these is like in the 7s or 8s. Diabate's sophomore season, like far and away the closest comp is sophomore year Xavier Tillman at Michigan State. Nobody else is even close. If you remember junior year Xavier Tillman at Michigan State, that guy was really damn good.
Yes, he's a monster. Was it 2019 when they beat
it would have been
Duke in the Elite Eight?
pre-COVID year, so 1920 was Tillman's junior year, but he was amazing that season.
Yeah. That's when Michigan State seemed destined to potentially win the national title. I mean, Cassius Winston had the redemption arc with everything that happened with him off the court, and Tillman was almost as big a part of that as Winston. Yeah, I'm all aboard the Diabate train. I think that's a great call.
Mhm.
All right, my number 3, Will. You hinted at it. I know we share this guy because you mentioned it in the Discord just before we recorded. But Flory Badunga for Kansas, another Big 12 big man for me. I am a huge believer in the potential, the athleticism, the mobility as a big man. He's got incredible like second bounce where he doesn't have to reload his legs to jump again. He's great in the glass. I think defensively, he gives them so many more options than Hunter Dickinson did with, oh, we want to switch a little bit. We want to play at the level of the screen. It doesn't have to be deep drop every time. And I think his offensive ability was neutered a little bit, sometimes playing next to Dickinson. Just you didn't want to ever feed him in the post. He's a great lob threat. But man, that system and coaching staff and self over the years has developed big men like clockwork. Cole Aldrich, Jeff Withey, guys that didn't seem skilled early in their career ended up being like go-to threats. And maybe he won't be a 27% usage half hook merchant on the post, but I think his usage will ascend. He'll be much more productive offensively, and the defensive potential is crazy. And I know you're kind of on board with this, Will. Tell me why.
Well, I actually think that getting rid of KJ Adams is going to help him a little more than getting rid of the big dick. Sorry.
I loved
but
it.
like
I
I'm
loved
looking at the front court. I adjusted for luck on Hoop Explorer, like I love to do. Dickinson and Badunga together plus 27.5 per 100, adjusted for schedule, all that. Badunga and Adams together plus 17.9, almost a net even, unadjusted for schedule. So in Big 12 play, like that combo, and it makes sense. Like there's not really shooting with it. You're kind of just running a bunch of shit to the mid range. They really didn't rebound very well together either. Adams is nothing special on the boards, as we know. I think that playing with Trey White is really going to help him, having like a shooty 4 out there who can shoot at least. Like Trey White can. I don't know if he'll shoot amazingly, but he can shoot. And, sometimes that's just all you need. But I think that Badunga kind of gets knocked a bit for this idea of like, is he just a lob threat? It's like, oh, all he can do is dunk. All he can do is rebound. Well, I'm sorry to say, like, that's actually pretty valuable still. Like, if you can run the pick and roll effectively and just like dunk it and like take care of business and post up a little bit. And something I do want to note, we talked about in the Discord actually right before recording, Badunga did begin to flash at the end of his high school career as a post passer. And so I kind of think there is a world where he actually emerges as like superior Adams in a way. And I will also note, really beneficial, again, Torvik, comps, etc. Really beneficial when your top 4 comps statistically, and these are all freshman year for you, in order: Xavier Tillman, Charles Bediako, Mark Williams, Adam Bona. That's a really good 4-pack to have for sophomore year breakouts.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Luke Wynn's formula at the top of the show. He doesn't hit the usage barriers for that. He was a little lower, but I think contextually there's some things that kept his usage down, and we'll see it rise quite a bit. You mentioned how valuable he is as a lob threat. He's in the 99th percentile of efficiency as a pick and roll man per synergy, scoring 1.7 points per possession. Like if you are throwing it to him as if it's a lob or a roll, he is going to finish. He's just elite at it. He gets so high off the ground. He wants to dunk everything, which I think matters a lot. If you want to dunk everything, you're going to be a better finisher. He's not looking to be cute around the basket. Not very efficient in post-ups last year on a relatively limited sample. But again, I trust the development of that front court coaching staff and the talent that he has. Like it's not like this is some random off the radar guy. He was a top 15 recruit by RSCI, and I think that's going to play up even more as a sophomore with a big time scorer and passer and Peterson kind of running the show.
So I was curious. I looked to Hoop Explorer really quick to see that. So there was 169 possessions last year with no Dickinson or Adams and just Badunga at the 5, which is kind of what we expect this year. Like,
yep,
they may try and slam in another big with him. I'm not really totally sure who it would be. But his usage was about the same, 15, 16%. Offensive rating in these lineups, 131 for Badunga. He finished like crazy. The rebounding two-way was insane, 13% OREB percentage, 28% defensive rebounding percentage. There is a real chance that he's like an automatic 10 rebounds a game guy.
Yeah, because I think he's going to play that kind of minutes. I know they stole Paul Mbia from NC State and have that giant. He's like a 7'8" wingspan type guy off the bench, but I don't know how ready he's going to be for a huge minute load. And Badunga just having the full season of Big 12 experience and having shown enough to me last year, I think he's going to be excellent out there. Free throw shooting, something to work on. Fouling, something to work on. A common theme for some of these guys, but those are the kind of things that typically get better as you get older.
Yeah.
Well, where did you have him on your list?
9th. So a little
9th.
lower, because I
Yep.
do remain a hair skeptical offensively, but the upside defensively is so extreme that I think you have to have him on the list.
Yeah, and maybe the defensive ability won't pop for people and like, oh, did he really break out? He only averaged 9 points and 9 rebounds or something, but I think the defensive impact will be really, really remarkable. Okay, so then we go to your number 3, Mr. Warren.
My man, Mikey Lewis, St. Mary's. I love this kid. Conference games only, and so I know like we have to make all these stupid things about like, oh, the WCC competition, all that shit. Big friggin' whoop. WCC play. 117 offensive rating on 22% usage, 9% turnover rate, which is really interesting. 42% from 3. I will say 35% from 2 in conference play is quite worrisome to me, but it seems like there's a good bit of variance in terms of the mid-range jumpers. It seems you just had a rough go of it. He does need to be a much better finisher, but I don't mind adjusting up for that in my head because he's a freshman, first college experience. That happens sometimes. The upside here is just really extreme to me, where top 100 games, 7.3 box plus minus, the best on St. Mary's roster for the record.
Wow.
Extremely good two-way player all around. And I got to go get my comps in. You want to know who his number 1 freshman year comp is? It could be
Matthew
upsetting to you. It could
Dellavedova.
be good. I really don't
know
know which way to go. It's Jordan Poole. It was like,
oh, man.
Look, for better or for worse, Jordan Poole has been a agreeable NBA player at times, does have a ring, and was a key part of that ring. Jordan Poole really did take off his sophomore year and get into the NBA draft discussion because of it. Lewis got on some draft boards very late last year as like a tangential, like two-way guy. I could see a year, and Lord knows St. Mary's really needs it because the roster's a little thin on the whole, and we are kind of banking on Randy Bennett just producing somebody like he usually does. That takes up for it. Lewis, to me, seems like the guy who can do that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Wynn's formula. He fits like the low minute, but really high usage, played enough for a good team to insinuate that he's a good player. Randy Bennett trusted him as a freshman. Yeah, you mentioned the shooting, the usage, that's all great. I want to see him get to the line a little more. Only took 27 free throws in the entire season. Physicality, but that can come with age and maturity and really a bigger role. Last year, he was almost all off ball. I'm guessing he'll get a little more on ball reps this year with no true clear point guard with Goose gone. And I don't know if Tony Duckett, is the guy, but yeah, I'm all aboard. I had him on my list. Where was he? Number 7, just the high usage, more minutes, easy breakout formula in a system that produces like a Jock Landale every 3 years where it's like, oh, that bench guy is now averaging 19 and 11. Okay. All right. That makes sense. I don't know if Lewis will get all the way up near 20 points a game, but I think he'll be their leading scorer. Him and Morauskas will be definitely in that mix.
So I think his value got like artificially diminished a bit by what was admittedly not a very good NCAA tournament for him. For against Vandy, kind of got played off the court against Alabama. It was like too much too soon for him. But it's kind of like preseason in a way where you're like taking the high and the low. Him going off against Gonzaga twice really does mean something to me. Like he was fantastic in that road win at Gonzaga.
Yep. Yeah. It at least it's kind of the proof of life. What am I looking for?
Proof of concept.
Proof of concept. Thank you. Yeah. That is exactly what I was looking for. Yeah, he can do it on a bigger stage and knock down shots, get to his spots, and in a 25 or 30 minute a game role with an off season of development under Randy Bennett. Yes, I fully believe in that. Let's stick with you, Will. Who else do you have on your list in the top 5 here? Number 4.
I've got Thad Matta's son, Ade Matta, at Michigan.
Okay.
This is like square in the list of why did you not play more last year? Because when he played more, he was freaking awesome for UCLA. And it kind of got to the point, actually, in the Tennessee game in the round of 32. He did diminish a bit towards the end of that match, but I kept thinking, like, why is this guy only getting 13, 14 minutes a game? Because he's clearly the best player on the court when he's out there. I don't think I really have to explain that the number of players in history who've had a +5 offensive and defensive box plus minus are very slim. 117 offensive rating on a 26% usage rate. He still can't shoot. I think we all know that. 57% from the line. Hasn't attempted a three yet in college. Frankly, when you're 7'3" and you're a former 5-star, I don't really want you to shoot a three. Just go down there and pound the shit out of the ball. 17% block rate, one of the highest in the entire sport last year. 17% offensive rebound rate, one of the highest. Potential two-way superstar for me. Like I know they have Morez. I know that Michigan is going to be really loaded in the front court this year. And maybe he won't be a true breakout in the same way that there was the Purdue year where they had both Travion Williams and Zach Edey, and they kind of had to go my turn, your turn a bit. Whereas, like, we've got two awesome guys, but we can't really play them together, and we're just going to have to live with this for one season. I kind of wonder if there's a bit of that where, Mata, like, has his games, Morez has his games, and we just live with it. But even by that token, if you get 25 minutes a game out of this guy and he has the same level of production, you're getting a freaking superstar.
Yeah, the defensive stuff is unbelievable. The shot blocking, he is so long. Like we talked about maybe on the show a little bit. He is all limbs. He does not have a very, very big torso, but it makes him so long. His legs are super long. He gets his hands on everything around the basket. And I think the sneaky thing with him that maybe people don't realize as much is he was a great post scorer, 81st percentile in efficiency per synergy. He just knows how to kind of get to an angle. You cannot block his half hook because he is so long. If he can get to that shot, he's going to score more often than not. That starts to dictate defenses having to double, and they were still pretty good. 74th percentile when he had to pass out of post-ups last year. So I think I had a tough time with him and Morris Johnson because I think they both make a ton of sense as a breakout guy, but now they're going to be kind of cannibalizing each other's minutes and production. But both players are really good, and we've seen that Dusty knows how to use a center in his offense, both at Florida Atlantic when he was playing 4 out around 1, and then last year at Michigan when it was a little bit more conventional with 2 bigs. So I think both those guys are going to have huge years, and Mara's probably the more productive per minute guy. So it makes sense to me.
2 things on him. One, I'm going to send you his team photo from UCLA after this. He looks like the Spanish fullback that like Barcelona always has that just fouls the shit out of everyone. Like, and like everybody hates him, but the Barcelona fans love him too. I just want to read you. I know these are just 5 games, so don't yell at us. And it's 16.3 minutes per. So it's like an 81-minute sample or whatever. But last 5 games of the season, when it came to nut cutting time, and you got to win these games, like Big Ten tournament, NCAA tournament, etc. 22.6 points per 40, 23.3% offensive rebounding percentage.
That's ludicrous.
6.4 blocks per 40, and a 30% assist rate.
That's okay. So I remember him coming to UCLA, and I wrote the preview and was like, this guy's a really good passer. Like it shocked me. He was hitting guys kind of half no look back cuts and holding the ball, not quite like Jokic, but yeah, 30% assist rate is wild. And I think it's kind of backed up by what I'd seen from him before. The assist rate was over 16.6% for the full season. I'll take that from a center, and knowing that there's upside for more is really intriguing.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll pivot to my number 4 on the list. I went with Carter Knox from Arkansas, a guy that maybe you could argue had his mini breakout to end the season last year. I wrote about it at Basket Under Review, the splits that Knox had. He just got a lot better. He got more efficient, started making shots from everywhere. Seemed like he remembered that he's a giant, muscly wing that can bully ball some of the smaller defenders. And he can hit threes too. He's maybe not totally adept in other parts of the game, but he is a pure scorer. And maybe he won't get the reps with Acuff. Like, I want to see how John Calipari distributes his touches with now having a post scorer in Malik Ewan and a big time on ball guy in Darius Acuff. But I think Knox is going to continue to be a serious weapon. He did play a lot down the stretch, 36 minutes a game, 20 points against Texas Tech in the OT. I think that's certainly flashed the potential, but I think he could get up to like a 14 or 15 point a game guy just based on the skill and the confidence that he showed late. Just need the usage to rise a little bit here, Will.
Yeah, so last 10 games for him, 15 points per 40. It doesn't sound that extreme, but that is a real improvement over the season-long numbers. The key here for me, like you said, is the slashing. 67% free throw attempt rate over the final 10 games. Really kind of, like you said, took the blinders off, figured out like, hey, I can get to the lane anytime I want. I've got the size, I can finish, I can score. And it really helps when you do all this and you shoot 80% from the free throw line. He's a solid shooter. I don't think he's an amazing one necessarily, but he's solid. He's reliable. He'll get you the buckets. I can totally see a scenario where the training wheels for Acuff take a while to come off. Because like when I've read about him, it kind of seems like he's on the like not like the downside, but like amongst the lesser of the college ready 5-stars. So it could be a little bit before. And I know the thing with the Calipari team every single year is like it's like we have amnesia. We forget that it takes like 2.5 months for the freshman to remember how to play basketball in his system. So you could bet the upside of Knox for like the first 2.5 months of this upcoming season.
Yeah. Last year, first 24 games, 2 or 3 months of the year, as you mentioned, shot 40% from the field, 31% from three. Not great. Last 12 games, 56% from the field, 42% from three. That's not a teeny tiny sample size. That's a third of the season, 12 games. I'm not going to say he's going to shoot those numbers for the entire year, but if he splits the difference between those two, first 24 and last 12 for a full year, he's going to be really, really productive. And I think in a much bigger offensive role, having shown Calipari what he can do. I can't have DJ Wagner have a higher usage than him. That is my like, put my fist down, please, I'm begging you, John. Let Knox feast a little bit and let Wagner sink kind of into the background a little bit, even if you're going to play him. All right, so that's Carter Knox, my number 4. Let's finish out the top 5 for you, Will. Who did you have?
It's in the lineage of like bog standard Wisconsin bigs that just like are frustratingly good that I pick Nolan Winter. Freshman year, honestly, pretty unimpressive. I didn't see much in him. Last year, you could argue last year was the breakout. So, doubled his minutes, +9 box plus minus, +7 offensive, which is pretty damn high for anybody. 132 rating, 19% usage. This is like, there's a little bit of a cheat code when you're 7 feet. You can just finish really well at the rim if you want. And he did convert 79% of his shots at the rim. But still, I think more so than that, shooting 36% on threes as a 7-footer, that really piques my interest. There's room to roam there as like a spacer, which I could see a year where Nolan Winter like could take more threes, could take fewer, could even like go downhill more. But he's such an interesting player because we really don't have many like him in the sports history. Guy who rebounds really well, doesn't commit many turnovers, hits his threes, very good shooter, but his value is actually deflated a little bit because he didn't have a great close to the year. Wasn't a huge part of that BYU game where they lost, was frankly very unimpressive in the Big Ten tournament. Totaled 13 points in the Big Ten tournament's final 3 games, actually. So really didn't have a strong close. But even so, the upside there is so severe that I can't help but be in. And, freshman, sophomore comps for him over the last few years, these are the top 5 at Torvik. Matthew Hurt of Duke, which really good season in a forgotten year for Duke, I would say. DJ Wilson at Michigan, really big breakout his sophomore year. Lauri Markkanen, Thomas Houck last year, and Killian Tilly, who I think people forget was really awesome at Gonzaga. So I'm really intrigued by him. I can see a scenario where he kind of explodes into not only like all Big Ten caliber, but like, like an all American honorable mention type, like low end, like maybe top 40 player in the nation.
Yep. Yeah. You, excuse me. You mentioned the comps. I'm looking at the Ken Palm comps. He's got the same kind of similar tool. One of them is Nate Reavers, sophomore year, also at Wisconsin. Reavers saw a 10% usage bump from sophomore to junior year. I could see Winter having some of that. I mean, it's a different system these days. They're playing more ball screen stuff with Boyd and John Blackwell, but Winter, that fits. A couple other comps on there. Ryan Kelly for Duke, kind of right in that Matthew Hurt vein, and Mo Wagner for Michigan. That one also kind of intrigues me. A guy that ends up having a nice pro career, and perhaps Winter joins Reavers and John Lure and all the infinite number of Wisconsin bigs from Minnesota that just kind of come off the assembly line for Greg Gard and Bo Ryan.
Kind of forgot how unbelievable Mo Wagner was in that Loyola Chicago Final Four game. 24 and 15.
He was everywhere. And I was at that one down in San Antonio, and so many Loyola fans there with all kinds of optimism. And we're just like, this guy is breaking our hearts. Mo was unbelievable that game. Okay, I will go with my number 5 pick here, Will. Back to Blue Bloods, which we've had a couple on so far. We both had Badunga from Kansas, but I'm going with Isaiah Evans from Duke, a very high usage guy, 25% shot rate when you're sharing the floor with Cooper Flagg and Con Knippel and Tyrese Proctor. It's pretty funny to me. Like, he is confident. There is no question about that. He was super efficient last year, and maybe the shot quality is a little lesser this year without playing with such incredible playmakers. But man, you're playing with Cam Boozer and Caden Boozer. Those guys are going to create a lot of looks. They've got some other offensive threats as well. I just think if he gets the minutes, and that really may be the question with him, is how does the guard rotation shake out at Duke? Does he end up starting? Is he the big time scoring spacer next to the Boozers, and Dame Sarr is like the defensive piece? I think he's got the confidence, the shooting stroke to be positively lethal in a bigger role. I mean, it's like he didn't play that many minutes, 30% of the minutes last year, and he took 153s. Like, he could shoot 400 this year, and it wouldn't be totally stunning.
So I really like him, but I do have a couple of concerns about him. One is obviously the defense. He's frankly a turnstile on that end.
Yes.
The other kind of underrated one here is that, so of his 150, this is percentage, 155 jumpers last year, 128 catch and shoot, very little off of the dribble, and shooting 32% off the dribble compared to 42% on catch and shoots. These are from 3. Does make me worry a little bit. Like, if you get him off balance, can he self-create? Like, maybe not. We're not really sure. But that was a unique situation where he is like a clear role guy on a team with far greater stars. I do really like this kid. I can definitely see like maybe not a full breakout, but like a year where he just scores more and is more fun and like bigger piece. What he actually reminds me of is, strangely enough, some of the Beeline era Michigan wings, like smaller guards who were like asked to play wing, like Zach Irvin, Nick Stauskas. He had like that level of production his first year.
Do you know what his number 1 comp is on Ken Palm?
Stauskas?
Zach Irvin.
Okay, close.
I thought you were looking at it because I was seeing it, and you said it like as I was looking at it. It was rather remarkable.
Well, I've pulled it up now. Okay. Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Dron Lamb too. Dron Lamb was actually a pretty good comp. People forget he was very good for Kentucky.
Yeah. And you talked about with Winter kind of having a bad close to the year. The Sweet 16, or actually second round Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4, 7 minutes, 4, 6, 2. Like, he was not a big part of the rotation, I think, because he wasn't getting the job done defensively. They didn't really need the offensive firepower. So the fact that he's not great at really anything besides scoring and shooting, and the scoring is more catch and shoot, as you mentioned, it could limit the upside. But he's also going freshman to sophomore, and might be able to expand his game a little bit. I think that was some of the qualms with Solo Ball last year. A guy that was like just a shooter as a freshman, played a really small role, and it's mostly what he was as a sophomore. But I think we can all agree he had a pretty big breakout there. And if Evans has Solo Ball's sophomore year, I wouldn't be shocked by that.
Well, and the thing is, somebody has to take the shots late. Solo Ball is that guy for UConn. We probably think it will be Cam Boozer this year, but it's not always going to be Cam Boozer. Like Isaiah Evans being the kick out 3 guy to close out a game, that totally lines up with what I could see.
Yep. Okay, let's keep going through top 10 here. We're into the back half now. Will, who do you got at number 6?
We're staying Blue Bloods. No, I'm joking. We're staying in North Carolina, though. I've got Paul McNeil Jr. at NC State.
Ooh, good one.
This is so. I think there are 3 factors in his favor. Bill Simmons' voice. There's the Will Wade piece, where you go from Kevin Keats, who by all accounts is a nice person, to literally Will Wade. I think that's going to matter quite a bit. There's also the part where he closed the season really strong and nobody knew because, one, NC State missed the ACC tournament, a thing which shouldn't be a thing, actually, I would say. I think if you are in a conference, you should just play in the conference tournament. Like they don't keep teams who got relegated from the Premier League out of the FA Cup. Like they still play in it. But like conference games, admittedly very small minutes, like about 8 to 9 minutes a game, plus 9.7 box plus minus. 68% from 2, 36% from 3. He didn't play much because he does foul a bit, and we're still highly unconvinced of him on defense. But he is so explosive on the offensive end. And again, the coaching upgrade here is so severe that I think we could see a real break from him on an NC State team where I'm actually a little bit more convinced of their defensive upside than offense just because they have Arsenault. They kind of will need a scorer. So I don't know, man. I can see it with him. I just can see it.
Yep. Yeah, he had the kind of strong end to the season that maybe Isaiah Evans did not have, where he started a couple of games. I know Wake Forest fans remember the 24 piece he put on them that was maybe one of the many death knells in their NCAA tournament hopes, but he kind of fits what they need with what they brought in. Like Holloman is a nice ball mover type, can hit a few shots, but if you're looking for an actual perimeter bucket getter, high usage guy that's going to stress the defense, I think McNeil's the guy for that. You can play through Williams on the block a lot, but you need more of somebody break down the defense and extend the defense with shot making, and that's what he was in a limited sample last year. He's got a big minutes jump to go through, but I think he can with the coaching change as well.
Well, if you want like a proof of concept, nobody remembers this. Actually, nobody remembers either of these games. We all have amnesia at this point. It's freaking September. There's a stretch in late February where they played at North Carolina and at home against Wake Forest over the span of like 48 hours. He played 42 minutes in those games, 38 points. 38.
Yeah.
Go watch
the
those
scoring.
He was
scoring upside is really there. And you wonder like, oh, why didn't he play more? Well, it was a disaster of a season for NC State. I don't think they made a lot of correct decisions, and that's how you get fired a year after making the Final Four. Okay. My number 7 was Mikey Lewis. So I'm going to go right back to you, Will, for your number 7.
I'm going outside the P5 ranks for this one. I really haven't seen much buzz about this player, despite the fact he played for a top 100 KenPom team. They were very good in their conference, and that he is very much in the lineage of previous small guards that are explosive. It's Jaquan Johnson at Bradley. Sort of held back by the fact that Duke Dean was Bradley's leader, same exact size. Well, 5'8", 5'9", that's the same, basically. It's 1 inch. I'm sure, I'm sorry, 5'11" to 6 feet does matter if you're a guy. 5'8" to 5'9", you're kind of in the same boat. But these are conference play stats only. Plus 6.9 box plus minus, 120 offensive rating on 23% usage, 43% from 3, 51% from 2, 78% from the line, 5.6% steal percentage. This is a guy who can really break out when they need him to. Saved their ass a couple of times, especially against Murray State in a game that they very nearly lost. Scored 18, got 5 rebounds at 5'9", by the way. Really in on this guy. Going to take a huge minutes jump this year as Bradley stares down a vacuum of just like bucket getters and minutes getters at the top. One guy who is in his top 5 of comps, I really want to single out here, and I'm not saying he'll hit this upside, but there is a reason why these guys are in the tops here. It's Mark Sears, his freshman year at Ohio. Very similar stats.
That is quite a comparison right there. I'm sure Nate Oates' ears just perked somewhere in Tuscaloosa and said, "All right, I need to start studying transfer tape of Jaquan
Those
Johnson."
nerds probably do subscribe to us.
Yeah, I hope so. Good. Listen
Yeah.
away. We'd say good things about your
Nerds
system
do
and your
compliment
team.
on this show.
Yeah.
It's not derogatory.
Do you know what his nickname is per the Bradley website?
No, I'm a little scared to inquire.
Bully.
Oh, hell
Bully
yeah.
Johnson. You gotta love that.
Oh my god, do they have an NIL fund that I can donate to?
Yeah. Let's.
I'll be in the
start
tank for them. I don't care.
Perfect. No, I love it. Yeah. I wrote the MVC for Basket Under Review. I haven't posted it yet and haven't fully selected my all conference, but I will have a hard time not having him like first or second team. He was all freshman last year, and just the increase in role and the success of a similar archetype of player in that system seems like, man, a home run pick here for him to break out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna see your mid-major and match it with another small scoring guard. He's actually number 10 on my list, but it feels like a natural transition. Team I'm very high on, potentially could crack the top 50. Trey Green of St. Louis. He was at Xavier, didn't really work out there, but he had so much buzz going to Xavier because of his performances on the AAU circuit, particularly Peach Jam, just a winner, big-time scorer. Couldn't figure it out at X, but then you go to Josh Schertz's system, where Isaiah Swope has had 2 huge years as the kind of big-time shot maker, little guy playing off the ball with Robbie Avila being the central playmaker. And that role just makes a ton of sense for me for what this SLU team can be. They added a ton of depth this offseason in the portal, so I think the team will be a lot better after they were like bottom 3 in the country in bench minutes. They had nothing off the bench last year. And now Green comes in, and it kind of the post-hype sleeper type where it's the talent getting more to the right system, the right level. I think he's going to have a major, major breakout for them. This isn't one like you don't have a lot of statistical formulas to go on with him, but it's more like pedigree, system, coach, and I think he has a big year.
So there's a couple of things really in his favor. One being you pretty much never get recruits of this caliber in the A10. It's very rare that somebody of this like high quality on the AAU circuit, high quality and 247 on through, etc., transfers down like this. One thing I'm really looking for from him in this offense specifically, like you said, we don't have a ton of college data to go on, but we do have some high school data. So with Moken Elite, the 17U team at the an EYBL in I think summer 2022, if I'm recalling correctly. This is via Synergy. He shot 43% from 3. And in college so far, I know, again, limited sample size, but 26 for 27 from the free throw line. In high school, he shot 83%, I believe. There is the chance that he's just this outlier great shooter and can really benefit from that in a system designed to his strengths.
Yep, and that was always Swope's big strength, was like shot maker, like tough shots. You can get him off. He had the freedom to do so in the system, and I think that's what we're going to see with Green, where they need some scoring pop with Swope and Gibson Jimerson leaving, and I think he fills that role perfectly and evokes the memories of what he was doing at Peach Jam for a Bills team that I think could win the A10.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get through the ends of our list here. Will, who else you have?
This is the one that I held up our call because I had to figure out how to pronounce it. Amael Latong from Dayton.
Oh, the Frenchman. A10, stand up.
Yeah, this is well off anybody's board. I'm going to give you a list here. I love doing this shit. Sorry to Corey if you got to edit these swears out, but whatever. This is an adult show. This is 18 plus and 10 plus. This is across history, by the way. Players with a 20% usage or higher, 110 O rating or higher, defensive rebounding percentage of 20% or higher, block percent of 5% or higher, and 20 or more threes made as a freshman. Can I give you 4 of the 5?
Yeah, I'm thinking like Rafe LaFrance or something insane.
Yeah, you're probably in the right. Oh, at box plus minus plus 5. Sorry.
Okay.
This is in order of when they happened. 2008, Mike Beasley. 2008, Kevin Love. 2017, Jonathan Isaac. 2022, Chet Holmgren. All those guys top 5 picks. The 5th is Latong.
Man, I thought the 5th was going to be like a historical guy that didn't matter. No, if it's Latong and those are the 4 other guys, that's pretty good.
So yeah, his freshman year, 115.0 rating on 22% usage, 20.4% defensive rebounding rate, 7% blocks, 21 made threes. And it wasn't like Dayton was terrible last year. They haven't been up to their like what we think their standard would be. I guess I don't really know what their standard is anymore. I'm sorry, but like conference play plus 6.4 box plus minus 120 rating on 20% usage. This is a potentially really special player who just came in from overseas and nobody really knew anything about. I gotta say, it's really in his strong suit. His top 2 freshman year comps at Torvik, Robbie Avila and Pascal Siakam. And part of me is like, how is this guy still in college? But then I'm like, well, he only played 60 minutes a game. He did foul a little bit, nothing crazy. But he really fits my breakout mold for a guy who just like, for whatever reason, maybe it took time to adjust to the college game. He played a lot more down the stretch, I will say. Like he topped out at 32 minutes against Loyola in January after he kind of figured out their system. I can definitely see a scenario where this guy is just like suddenly really huge to Dayton and a potential like, off the charts NBA guy. Like maybe we see him start popping up on draft boards.
Yeah, he only played 16 minutes a game in FIBA U20 this summer for Eurobasket, and I was constantly confused why. They were better when he was on the floor, and the last game, third place game, he played his most minutes, 22, and had 14 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and 2 turnovers is what it was. But he shot 45% from 3 in that event on relatively limited sample. And he's huge. Like I don't know what I'm missing. Maybe it's people are waiting for a little more mobility from him, but he is going to continue to be awesome in a per minute production. It's just a matter of does he get the time? And I think he should this year for that Dayton team. He's immensely talented, and man, I love that little statistical nugget of the quintet that he's a part of. All right, we got 2 left each. My last or second last one, Dylan Hunter of Clemson. This one is not really fitting the formula for usage because he was really low usage last year as like the 4th guard on Clemson, but he had awesome on-off splits. And I think he rises into his brother's role this year. With Chase Hunter gone, there's no real clear perimeter alpha. I think his experience in the Brownell system, he's going to end up being the guy in the backcourt. And it's just that role change. I think he's capable of handling that. I don't think he's quite the level of Chase Hunter. I don't think he's going to be quite that good. But if he's the best guard on an NCAA tournament team come next March with what Clemson could be, I am not surprised by that at all. The usage last year down 14%. If it's up around 21 this year, just based on the personnel turnover, I wouldn't be shocked by that. And I think he'll be efficient in that role.
Yeah, so plus 7.5 RAPM at CBB Analytics, highest on the team. Plus 3.1 defensive box plus minus, and is consistently all 3 years at Clemson graded out as either the team's top defender or one of the 2 or 3 best. There's a chance he's just a really freaking awesome perimeter defender, like even in limited minutes. So if he scales up to that, you at least have that. And I know the shooting is kind of wobbly, I would say, 56% from the line over his career, 27% from 3. But as a distributor, as a safe pair of hands with the ball, and as a guy who doesn't like turn it over and is just really damn good on defense, there is serious upside here. I think the fact that he's consistently held up very well in games against top 100 competition, like last year, plus 4.1 box plus minus, plus 3.7 on the defensive end. I think he's just like safe. I don't know if he'll upgrade into a huge role, but if like you can get him into like the 17% range of usage territory, which is a jump from his historical like 12 to 13, that will help Clemson out quite a bit.
Yeah, he missed the last 2 games of the year because he got hurt in the ACC tournament against SMU, but he did get into the starting lineup late in the season, and he had a 5-game stretch where they played Duke, North Carolina, Florida State, SMU, Notre Dame, 5 top 100 teams. He had 21 assists and 3 turnovers. I think that kind of is the sell with him, is that in the chances he got to be more of a prominent rotation piece, he was awesome, and the usage rose a little bit. we'll see if that continues without the comfort level of his big brother kind of being the steadying force in the backcourt. But I believe in the talent, the role, and what Brownell's done with a very similar player before. All right, cap it off for us, Will. Your number 10 breakout player. I've got 3 I've got to decide between, so I'm going to let you take this, and I'll try to whittle it down while I think.
Well, lucky for you, I've got another great fun Torvik grouping.
Yes, perfect.
Now, these are just 2025, and this is just the final 2 months, so February onward. These are players with, again, usage over 20%, offensive and defensive box plus minus of +2 or higher, and they were freshmen. These are high majors, by the way. There are 7 players that qualified. 5 of them were first-round NBA draft picks. I'll spoil those for you. Flagg, Edgecombe, Knipple, Derek Queen, Jace Richardson. No huge surprise there. The 6th is LeBaron Philon. He is not my breakout player. Do you have any guess who the 7th would be?
I'm scrolling through a couple guys that I had as candidates. I will guess. Darian Reed or David Punch.
KJ Wyndham from Northwestern is the 7th member of this list. And I think so. Northwestern kind of got lost a little bit last year because they had, I believe, like 2 separate season-ending injuries from starters. Jalen Leach had one, and I know Brooks Barnheiser had one that really tanked their season.
Yep.
But when that happened, KJ Wyndham got inserted into regular, like 25-plus minute games and really took off. Down the stretch of last season, +5 box plus minus overall in those final 10 games. I'll have to dig up my stat I had because I was stupid enough to not put it in here. But please just rest assured on my go-to word that he was awesome towards the end of this season and was quietly their second best player over those final 10 games. Like, was the MVP of a surprise win over Iowa on February 28th. Battled Wisconsin very well, 14 points in 29 minutes, 7 assists, a steal. I think the upside here is pretty serious. And this is from a program that generally leans on seniority and doesn't play freshmen all that much. For him to earn Chris Collins' trust that early, that quickly, especially after falling out of the rotation completely over the holidays, like he DNP'd 3 in a row to start Big Ten play. For him to surge back up does mean something to me. They're going to need somebody to score this year. And I will note, once he hit, like, he wasn't a starter technically, but it was starter minutes. He was playing, 25 plus minutes a game, the final 10 minutes or final 10 games of the year. They played like the 35th best team in the nation once he got that role. I'm really looking for him to have a serious, like, takeoff year this sophomore season.
I think there's a lot of optimism with him, being the complement to Martinelli, the real consistent play 38 minutes a game type guy. But Wyndham was so good down the stretch. I had some splits I pulled up because I wrote Northwestern, Will, and I think it's the last 9 games. He averaged 12 points, 3.5 assists, two rebounds. I mean, compared to he was averaging 3 points and 1 assist before that. The minutes going up is a part of it, but he was also just better. He was more efficient, made more shots. He shot 42% from the field over that stretch instead of 33%, 40% from 3 instead of 21% from 3. So, like, he clearly just got more comfortable knowing he had a bigger role. He wasn't looking over his shoulder, worried he's going to get yanked all the time. The upside's really, really high for a team that needs that perimeter playmaker with Leach gone and Ty Berry gone too. So, yeah, I think that's a great call. Mm-hmm. I had him as one of my 3 guys I was debating between for this last call. So I'm glad you took one and helped me go process of elimination there. I will end with pick your poison on Marquette, either Royce Parham or Sean Jones. Parham maybe fits the bill a little more as a rising sophomore who was higher usage last year. Team's got a real void of scoring and usage at the top of the roster with Cam Jones gone. He could potentially be the breakout scorer. The other is Sean Jones, who's off the torn ACL, but he was healthy in like basically January and going through full practices. Didn't want to burn the redshirt year for him when they had Jones and they had Stevie Mitchell in the backcourt. So he should be full 100% good to go. And this is an offense that has been really reliant on its point guards recently with Kolek and Cam Jones. Sean Jones is one of the fastest dudes I've ever seen with a basketball. Like he can just go. And if he's got a little bit of that ball screen savvy and ends up being the facilitator for a team that has, as we've mentioned on this show, been super reliant on internal development, there's a chance he's a really big leap in production type of guy. Either of those guys jump out to use more of the Marquette breakout candidate.
Jones, just because it's such a guard dominant offense, and with the front court players, they're important. They're like they set those screens; they're really key. But the usage rate traditionally for the Marquette bigs or even taller wings is just not as high as you would want for a breakout guy. I won't be surprised if Parham is actually the better per minute player, like stats wise, but Jones will have significantly higher counting stats. I would guess.
You're going to have rack up the assists. I mean, you just look at what Kolek and Cam Jones have done in the assist rate department. They love to put the ball in the hands of that lead guy and let him be the facilitator. And I think that will be the role he'll fill. It's part of why anyone's analysis and outlook on Marquette is based on how you feel about Sean Jones off the injury, because he's going to need to be that guy. But I kind of believe in it after what I've seen. And as long as the knee is in the rear view and he's not thinking about it, which he shouldn't be since it's so far in the past, I could see that being a major, major breakout. All right, well, I'll give you first crack at just listing any honorable mentions, because there were a lot that I had a hard time cutting here.
So I didn't have as many as I had hoped, but there are some that I do want to shout out. Keanu Dawes at Utah. I think Utah is going to be capital B bad this year. I don't like their roster much, but he was so good in his minutes last year. One, I was always constantly surprised they didn't play him more, and I wondered if it might be like a seniority deal or an NIL situation, like something going on there, extenuating circumstances keeping him from the court, because when he was out there, Utah was way better. And in a year where you got a brand new coach to the college game who's going to be leaning on, guys who know more than he does. Dawes kind of seems like an obvious candidate to be a huge, leap in trust, leap in production, all of those things. The problem is that he might do it on like the 14th best team in the Big 12. So it may not matter much. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this poor guy's name. It's like Bango, like something like that for
Okay.
Colorado. We'll consult.
Speaking of 15th best teams in the Big 12.
That's the other thing. It's like per minute superstar, but I just don't know if it's going to matter much. He also will have to fight for minutes with Elijah Malone, which worries me. The third pick I did consider is Patrick Gongba for Duke. There's always going to be the question of, does Duke just recruit over these guys? Because this year they could go with Boozer at the 5 if they want, from time to time. They could also, get some like Malik Brown minutes at the 5, because Malik Brown was awesome in his minutes there last year. But man, Gongba was so damn good in his limited time at the 5 last year, like box plus minus a plus 10.5, one of the highest in the nation. He is just kind of just dunks offensively, so I think that limits that. But he is crazy good on defense. And there is always something for me to say about it's kind of like the Javier Francis or Jojo Tugler effect of I almost don't care how much these guys foul if they're this good when they're on the court. If could be aggressive, let's just double his minutes. Let's get him to 16 a game. If we can get him to 16 a game, then maybe junior year is the takeoff. So that's why I couldn't put him on the list. I just don't trust they're going to.
Yeah, with the Malik Brown factor, that's big. But man, the efficiency is kind of insane. I guess it is because it's just dunks. But hey, him and Malawach were both phenomenal in that role, and I think Duke did a great job setting them up to get those looks. Similar vein, sophomore, big guy that is going to have a bigger role at Samto Cyril at Georgia. With Asa Newell gone, I think he's going to ascend and be super productive for them. Aiden Sherrill at Alabama, Darian Reed, I mentioned as a guest at your Wyndham trivia there. I think he could have a big year with Oklahoma. Another guy leaving Alabama, which is a little bizarre. And then we shouted out some A10 guys, so I'm going to give the Mountain West a little bit of love. I know you're writing them for Basket and Review. Pearson Carmichael for Boise State. He didn't play the first 2 months of the season, and then had a monster breakout game February 19th against New Mexico, put up 21 points. I remember seeing the box score and being like, who is this young lad for Boise? And then he started the rest of the season, had some big scoring games, really high usage, 25% of the shots when he was on the floor. and it seems like he's going to be their go-to perimeter piece this coming year. Decent assist rate, made shots. I think he's going to be, 12 to 15 point a game guy for a Boise State team that has consistently developed people and stayed in nationally relevant conversations.
Well, one well off the radar guy I do want to point out that popped up statistically, so I must count him here. Jackson Holcomb at Utah Valley. Have you ever heard
I
of
just
this?
wrote Utah Valley,
You
and
aware of
I
this
was
man?
not overly effusive in my praise of Jackson Holcomb.
So he does qualify. So I will just point that out. He will play in a pretty crappy whack. But 117 O rating on 19% usage, conference play 112 on 21. Will shoot it a little bit, 3 for 9 from 3 last year, not nothing. I have to mention this guy because he qualifies. He was +2 on offensive and defensive box plus minus, so pretty solid two-way talent. And it's not like Utah Valley really has an effusively amazing front court or a lot of talent like returning on it. There will be minutes available. And this is one, a guy who's going to play for a team that won 25 games last year. Two, a guy who's going to play for a WAC title in, I mean, what could be the final year of the WAC? I don't really know. So they've got a real chance to win it.
Yeah.
So he could be the breakout guy.
You have fully. You don't have to do a lot of convincing, but I'm going to go back and maybe give him a little more love in the preview because I think I kind of glossed over his impact as like, oh, he was a reserve forward last year. But that team typically, the front court is awesome. Carter Welling is now playing for Clemson. Osiris Grady is gone too. So he's going to have a big role. I should have given him more praise, and I will do that in the future. All right. Anybody else you want to shout out? Will, I've got a bunch of names that could have made it. David Punch, Juke Harris, Kurt Hang, Brandon Cummings, Tyrell Ward / Amon Noel for VCU, Corey Chest, Fader Zugic, Julius Halifanua, just people that schools that probably want to hear their guy shouted. So just rattling off names.
I got nothing else. I want to do a virtual handshake with you. So a little handshake here. Cohen Carr, not a breakout.
Yeah.
He already broke out. I don't want to hear it. Like I saw him. So when we Googled this in prep, Cohen Carr is like the breakout guy in every single list I saw. And I'm just like, he broke out already. What's he going to do? I don't think Stephen Curry is in the wheelhouse.
Yeah. Does he suddenly show on-ball creation and or shooting? I'm skeptical of both of those things.
No, this isn't 2K create a player.
If only the athleticism just auto equaled major skill development. But he's going to be all over your highlight reels once again, at minimum.
Yeah.
But okay, that wraps it up for us here at Stats by Will and Jim. We'll be back next week. We're still ironing out the next week or 2 or 3, but then we are going to start on a preview series, conference preview series. We'll try to make it different from what you might hear from other shows. It'll be the stats that will define the season for the Big Ten, for the ACC, etc. And that's kind of the perspective we're going to take on it. Really looking forward to that. We'll probably get 1 or 2 more episodes, as I mentioned, before we get to those previews. But that's what's on the horizon. Thank you to Trilly, our overlord here at Basket Under Review. Thanks to Corey behind the scenes, our editor. And thanks to Homefield, our loyal sponsor. For Will Warren, I'm Jim Root. This has been Stats by Will and Jim. We'll see you next week.